Alaska is America's largest, wildest, and most awe-inspiring state. And because of this, it has a truly incredible geography all by itself that is unlike anywhere else in the country and the world. So here are 15 of my favorite geography facts about Alaska.
And to kick us off, you might be surprised by how large Alaska truly is.
Alaska isn't just the largest US state, it dwarfs the others. Spanning over 663,000 square miles, it's larger than Texas, California, and Montana combined, the second, third, and fourth largest states. If Alaska were a country, it would be the 17th largest in the world, right between Iran and Libya. This vastness makes for a landscape of extremes, from icy coastlines and towering mountains to expansive tundra and thick boreal forests. It also makes building any significant infrastructure incredibly challenging. As such, distances between towns can be immense, with many towns accessible only by air or boat. In fact, because of its size, Alaska has about as many airports as California, despite having less than 2% of California's population. The sheer size of Alaska also means it has a huge influence on climate systems, ecosystems, and even time zones. So when people say everything is bigger in Texas, they clearly haven't been to Alaska. Of course, being the biggest state also means that it has a lot of access to the ocean. One of the most surprising facts about Alaska is that it has more coastline than the rest of the United States combined. When you add up the main shoreline and the thousands of islands scattered along its southeastern panhandle, southwestern archipelagos, and Arctic fringes, you get over 33,000 miles of coast, more than twice the rest of the United States coastline. Alaska's coastline spans from the temperate rainforest near Juno to the icy Arctic shores of the north, and have long sustained the indigenous communities, with rich marine ecosystems that include whales, seals, salmon, and shellfish. These same coastlines are also vital to modern industries like fishing, tourism, and shipping. And yet, many parts remain wild and undeveloped, giving Alaska a maritime character unlike any other US state. And from that coastline, you can see another country altogether. At its narrowest point, the Bering Strait between mainland Alaska and Russia is just 55 miles wide. This makes it the state that is closest to Russia by a wide margin. But what's even more amazing is that the two countries are really only 2.4 miles apart at their closest points, Little Diomede Island and Big Diomede Island. On a clear day, you can literally see across the international border. And because Big Diomede is on the other side of the international dateline, it's not just another country, it's technically tomorrow. This proximity once had geopolitical consequences, especially during the Cold War, when these islands became outposts of American and Soviet observation. This closeness is also a powerful reminder of Alaska's Russian colonial history. Russia technically owned Alaska up until it was sold to the US in 1867 for $7.2 million. Today, about $156 million. This tiny amount of money was deeply criticized at the time because Alaska was seen as an impenetrable fortress of mountains and forests. Today, however, the deal is considered an incredible bargain due to the state's vast amount of natural resources. Speaking of mountains, towering at 20,310 feet, Denali is the highest mountain in North America and one of the most prominent peaks on Earth. Formerly known as Mount McKinley, it was officially restored to its indigenous name in 2015. Denali rises from the Alaska Range and is so tall that it generates its own weather systems. Climbing it is considered one of the ultimate mountaineering challenges due to its elevation, extreme cold, and unpredictable conditions. Despite its extreme height, however, Denali wouldn't even rank in the top 100 mountains globally, nearly all of which reside in the Himalayas. Surrounding Denali is the sprawling Denali National Park and Preserve, home to grizzly bears, caribou, and moose. For centuries, the mountain has held cultural and spiritual significance for Alaska natives, particularly the Koyukon Athabascans, who have long called it the High One. Of course, being a mountainous state along the Pacific Ring of Fire also means it's quite volcanic.
Alaska is home to some of the freshest air and water in the world. But you don't have to go all the way to Alaska to enjoy something fresh this spring. Not when you have HelloFresh. HelloFresh makes it incredibly easy to eat well, without spending hours cooking or planning. Because of this, whenever I'm home, I make sure to sign up. My last box had this amazing pecan-crusted trout that felt like something straight out of a fancy restaurant. But it only took me 30 minutes to make. And their ready-made meals? Just 3 minutes in the microwave and boom, it's done. Perfect for those days when I'm buried in editing or planning my next trip. They've also got over 100 seasonal snacks and sides. And the ingredients are always high quality. Crisp veggies, fresh proteins, and zero wasteful packaging. So feel great with meals that fit your spring schedule and make this season even more delicious. Go to hellofresh.com/geography10fm to get 10 free meals and a free item for life. 1 item per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as a discount on your first box. New subscribers only, varies by plan.
Alaska isn't just snow and ice. It's one of the most volcanically active regions in the world. With more than 130 volcanoes and volcanic fields, many of them still active, it's part of the Pacific Ring of Fire. The Aleutian Arc is especially volatile, where the Pacific Plate is subducting beneath the North American Plate. Eruptions are common and can send ash plumes high into the atmosphere, disrupting global air traffic because so many flights cross over Alaska on their way to Asia.
In fact, it's predicted that Mount Spur could blow any day now.
These volcanoes aren't very destructive though. Instead, they create new land and shape the region's geology. But what is destructive are all of Alaska's earthquakes. Did you know that Alaska experiences more earthquakes than all other US states combined? Given its reputation, you might think that title belongs to California. But Alaska is far shakier. This is because the state sits at the convergence of several major tectonic plates, making it one of the most seismically active regions in the world. On average, Alaska records more than 20,000 earthquakes each year. The most powerful was the 1964 Good Friday earthquake, which struck with a magnitude of 9.2, the second largest ever recorded earthquake globally. That quake caused massive tsunamis, landslides, and devastation across south-central Alaska. Today, seismic monitoring is a major focus for both scientists and residents, as Alaska continues to remind us that the Earth is always in motion. This is especially noticeable with Alaska's many, many lakes. Alaska is home to approximately 3.5 million lakes, ranging from small ponds to massive inland seas. This is millions of more lakes than Minnesota, the quote-unquote land of 10,000 lakes. Alaska's lakes were primarily formed by glaciers that carved deep basins into the landscape during the last ice age. The largest, Lake Iliamna, spans more than 1,000 square miles and is a critical habitat for sockeye salmon. Many of these lakes are remote and only accessible by float plane, making them pristine ecosystems ideal for scientific study. They also serve as vital freshwater sources, migration stops for birds, and seasonal highways when frozen. In a state with limited road access, Alaska's lakes are more than scenery. They're lifelines for some communities. Speaking of glaciers, with over 100,000 glaciers, Alaska contains more ice than the entire lower 48 states combined. In fact, glaciers cover about 5% of the state's surface area and are constantly moving and reshaping the landscape. Some, like the Mendenhall Glacier near Juno, are popular tourist destinations, but shrinking. Others, like the Hubbard Glacier, are massive and still advancing. Alaska's glaciers act as freshwater reservoirs and significantly influence local climate and sea levels. They also record environmental data going back thousands of years. Unfortunately, as climate change accelerates, many Alaskan glaciers are retreating, offering a front row view of how rising temperatures are transforming the planet. So while Alaska has glaciers today, it might not in the future. Of course, Alaska has so many glaciers because it's so far north. But did you know it's also very far east and west? Alaska is the only US state that can claim the geographic trifecta of having the easternmost, westernmost, and northernmost points in the nation. Point Barrow is the northernmost city in the US, located on the Arctic Ocean. The westernmost point is Cape Rangdale on Attu Island in the Aleutians. And because the Aleutians cross the 180th meridian, Cape Rangdale is also the easternmost point by longitude. This means that parts of Alaska lie in the eastern hemisphere. It's a mind-bending example of how geography and geometry don't always align with how we think about east and west. And of course, this also means that Alaska has a unique climate. Alaska is the only US state with territory inside the Arctic Circle, and as such, it experiences true Arctic climate conditions: long, frigid winters, short, cool summers, and extreme variations in daylight. The town of Utqiagvik, formerly Point Barrow, the northernmost city in the United States, doesn't see the sun for over 2 months in winter, and then doesn't see darkness for another 2 months in summer. Temperatures here regularly dip to -30 degrees Fahrenheit, or lower, with wind chills far beyond that. This Arctic environment makes Alaska ground zero for climate change. Temperatures in the Alaskan Arctic are rising at more than twice the global average, melting sea ice, eroding coastlines, and disrupting ecosystems that have remained stable for millennia. In places like Shishmaref and Kivalina, entire communities are facing relocation due to rising seas and vanishing ice. This Arctic region may seem remote, but what happens here is shaping the future of global climate and geopolitics. As the ice melts, new shipping lanes open up, oil and gas become more accessible, and international interest in the Arctic is rapidly growing. Speaking of shipping lanes, Alaska's geographic position also helps it in this regard. Alaska's geographic position places it closer to Asia and Europe than much of the rest of the United States. From Anchorage, it's roughly 3,450 miles to Tokyo, 4,500 miles to Berlin, and 4,300 miles to Moscow. By contrast, Washington, D.C. is 4,800 miles from Moscow, and San Francisco is 5,100 miles from Tokyo. This positioning has made Alaska strategically significant, especially during the Cold War when the state hosted numerous military bases monitoring the Soviet Union. It also plays a role in modern aviation. Today, many trans-Pacific flights pass near or over Alaskan airspace, and the airport at Anchorage has become one of the largest freight and logistics hubs in the world. So Alaska's position is not a disadvantage for the state. In fact, it's a gateway to the Pacific Rim, linking North America to Asia in both commerce and defense. The Turnagain Arm near Anchorage has some of the highest tides in the world, with differences ranging up to 40 feet between low and high tide. The narrow inlet acts like a funnel, forcing seawater into a confined space and creating extreme tidal changes. This results in a unique phenomenon called a bore tide, a single wave that travels upstream against the current, sometimes surfed by brave locals. These massive tides are a dramatic example of Alaska's dynamic coastal geography and underscore the power of the ocean in shaping the land. And under these tides are vast expanses of gooey sand called muck, which is quite different from what lies under most of Alaska proper. Much of Alaska is underlain by permafrost, or permanently frozen ground, which covers around 85% of the state. This layer of frozen soil can extend hundreds of feet deep and remains below freezing year-round. Permafrost has a profound impact on construction, infrastructure, and ecosystems. Buildings must be specially engineered to avoid shifting as the ground thaws. In recent years, melting permafrost due to climate change has exposed ancient remains, released greenhouse gases, and caused land to buckle and sink, causing the now known drunken forest effect, where vast parts of Alaska's boreal forest is sagging to the left or right. Did you know that Juno, Alaska's capital city, is unique among US state capitals in that it is not connected to the rest of the state's road network? Surrounded by steep mountains and the Gastineau Channel, Juno is accessible only by boat or plane. This isolation affects everything from the cost of groceries to the logistics of running a state government. Despite this, Juno remains a thriving cultural and administrative hub, with a rich gold rush history and a lively political scene. Its inaccessibility only adds to the mystique and character of Alaska's political heart. Rangdale St Elias National Park and Preserve is the largest national park in the United States, spanning more than 20,000 square miles. That makes it 4 times the size of Connecticut, larger than the country of Switzerland, and 6 times the size of Yellowstone. The park is a land of superlatives, includes some of North America's tallest peaks, largest glaciers, and most remote wilderness. Within its borders are entire mountain ranges, historic mining towns, and rich wildlife habitats. Despite its size, it receives only a fraction of the visitors seen at more accessible parks. For those that do make the journey though, Rangdale St Elias offers a chance to experience the raw, untouched beauty of Alaska in its purest form.
As someone who used to live in Alaska, I can attest to the fact that Alaska really is one of the most beautiful states in the entire country. And if you ever get a chance to visit, definitely go. Speaking of travel, this week I'm exploring why Thailand was never colonized and what it feels like in person. So come join me over on my other channel.
I hope you enjoyed learning all about Alaska's amazing geography. If you did, consider checking out this video with 15 geography facts about Canada. Thanks for watching. See you next time.